So I'm going to be going through basically my $1 million a year content strategy and how I was able to get over 1,000 inbound DMs in February alone and actually scale it to 6-figure months. I want to walk through kind of the key shifts that I made, 4 kind of big ideas that are going to absolutely change your business if you actually take seriously. And these 4 ideas are things that nobody actually talks about. Nobody talks about how important this is on YouTube. Nobody talks about how important this is anywhere, right? So this is stuff that I've paid a ton of money to learn a ton about, and that I want to teach all of you as well so that you can really scale up. Cannot preface enough that market research is one of, if not the most important part of content, because if you don't know what's going into the content, then you're never going to actually be able to get there. So I'm going to be going through basically my $1 million a year content strategy and how I was able to get over 1,000 inbound DMs in February alone and actually scale it to 6-figure months. I want to walk through kind of the key shifts that I made, 4 things that I'm going to cover in this call here, and basically the 4 kind of big ideas that are going to absolutely change your business if you actually take seriously. And these 4 ideas are things that nobody actually talks about. Nobody talks about how important this is on YouTube. Nobody talks about how important this is anywhere, right? So this is stuff that I've paid a ton of money to learn a ton about, and that I want to teach all of you as well so that you can really scale up. We'll go through this, and then we'll have a little bit of a Q&A at the end as well to get you guys all dialed in and have any questions to answer. All right, so let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to cover is market research. And I cannot preface enough that market research is one of, if not the most important part of content, because if you don't know what's going into the content, then you're never going to actually be able to get there. You aren't attracting your dream follower because you don't actually know what they want. Most people assume their audience pains, desires, but they never actually ask. And that's the number one thing you can do as a founder. And the reason that some people's content performs well and others just fail over and over, it all comes down to market research. Every single month, I'm constantly updating my market research sheet because your audience is constantly shifting. And one of the easiest ways that you can actually get this instant feedback and outperform every other coach is when you're onboarding a client. So I have a list of questions I ask every single person immediately after they join the program, immediately after they buy, to give me all the data I need to target more of my dream followers. The questions I ask are, why did you buy the program? What pieces of content or what piece of content finally pushed you to book a call? What were your biggest hesitations before joining? There are hundreds of other coaches out there. What made you choose me? In your opinion, what's the most valuable aspect of the program you didn't know was included until after you joined? What is your backstory and how and why did you start X? What is your biggest bottleneck holding you back right now? And after doing this, I know everything I need to know about how they found me, what made them buy, their biggest pain points, desires, and everything about their past. So I can actually target those specific things they mention, build a real personal brand where people resonate with every piece of content I post, and will choose me over every other coach. But if you don't do these basic things, the basic onboarding questions, you get the basic insight from your audience, then what happens is you assume. And when you assume, then you just attract nobody at all. And that's how you attract the people who are super unsophisticated, or your content is too specific, or it's too broad. You're just hitting all the wrong aspects. So what all of you need to do right now is actually add all of these questions to your onboarding. So whether it means take a screenshot, anything like that, but as soon as you actually onboard a client, you want them to fill out a type form. And not only are you doing this for you, but you're doing it for them. Because if I have you guys fill this out, now I know what you value about your life, why you chose me, and I can give you and give my clients the best possible results possible, right? So that's why it's so important to instantly do this. And the reason that you want to do this as soon as someone joins, right when they join, because all of their emotions are still there. They really understand why they bought. They are going to be more willing to actually put in all the work to answer all these questions. And then you're going to see what kind of the state they were in when they did buy. So then you can reverse engineer that into your content and make sure that you can do that for people in the future. Now, you don't want to just research anyone. All right. You want to pick 2 to 3 of your absolute dream clients and interview them. Because if you're interviewing everyone, if you're taking your data, you're taking your insights from everyone in the market, then what happens is you start to kind of have sludge, right? You look like every other coach, and what you post becomes very surface level. So if you pick 2 to 3 of your dream clients and you interview them, you can ask them the same questions. You can know the similarities between them. And if you target those similarities in your content, that's how you're actually able to make the kind of change. So what I do and what all of you should do as well, I update my market research sheet constantly because your audience is always shifting, right? The audience is always shifting, content's always shifting, and your audience is always getting more sophisticated. So once a month, I'll go through and I'll redo my entire market research sheet on all of the things that my clients are currently struggling with, right? All the pain points, all the desires that you have. And if I'm constantly updating this and nobody else is, that means I'm going to have insights and data that nobody else has because they do it once and they assume that it's always going to be the same, or they never do it at all. They never actually ask. They just assume all these, right? And that's why they're screwing yourself over in the long run, because you might get like a few clients here or there because it's so watered down. Like obviously you're going to get some people, but you're never actually going to stand out. Nobody's going to choose you over other people, and it's just not going to do very well for you in the long run. So that's why market research is one of, if not the most important thing, because content starts like it's half before you record the video, and then the other half is after or during, right? But what you do before you record is infinitely more important than after, right? If you have bad market research, if you have a bad idea, if you have a bad setup, then it doesn't matter how you actually do the video, because it's going to be a bad topic. You don't even know who you're targeting. Like everything about it is bad, right? So you can't turn something bad and edit it up and have it be good. But you could have something really good, and even if you edit it poorly, it's still going to be good, right? So that's why market research is so important, and understanding like what's actually going to make someone buy. And the way that you think about this is like, if I didn't have sales calls, which I'm going to touch on in a second, if I didn't have sales calls, what is everything I have to show in my content to make it so the person has no reason that they won't just pay when I send them a payment link, right? You should be able to send a payment link in your DMs, or just publicly say your prices, and people will just buy it. But that's not the case for most, right? And I still have sales calls because that's not the case for me either. But that should be the goal. And like I said, I'm gonna touch on that in a second. But that kind of brings us into our second topic, which is gonna be packaging. So packaging is kind of the second half, right? It's still before you determine your packaging before, but this is when you're actually presenting your video. And your packaging is the front end, it's what people originally see. And this is the most important part of what people see in the content, okay? You gotta keep in mind the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the results you get are gonna come from 20% of whatever it is, whatever inputs, right? And this applies very heavily to the packaging. Your packaging is 20% of your video, right? Your hook, your thumbnail, your title, like the idea, that's 20. But that is going to give you 80% of the results. Because if you have poor packaging, if you're delivering your video in a bad way, in a poor way, it doesn't matter like how good the editing is. Like I said, if it's a bad idea, it just sucks. So how you actually present an idea determines performance more than the actual idea itself. You could have the same idea, but package it, deliver it in two different ways and get a completely different outcome. And the way that I kind of look at this is like, how can I take a middle funnel, bottom of funnel idea and make it as top of funnel as possible? If I'm able to take an advanced thing and talk about it in a way, not that it attracts beginners, but in a way that not only beginners understand it, but intermediate and advanced people all learn something from it, then that's going to give me the biggest range of people seeing my content. And it's going to give me a bigger chance of actually getting in the people that I truly want. And that should be the goal. It should be, how can you make your reach as broad as possible without like watering it down, but take an idea and keep that idea very strong, but the way you're packaging it, the way you present it, make it as broad as possible. That's why in this call, right, I'm probably going to post this. I very well could title it, and I don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but if I wanted to be super specific to what it was, I could say like the 4 things that that everyone needs to do in content, right? Yeah, I could do it that way, but like in reality, I could package it a much better way, right? I can package it what I have right here on top, my $1 million a year content strategy, 1,000 inbounds a month, right? And I might even package it as that, because this, beginners are going to be able to learn from this, advanced people, intermediate, like everyone's going to be able to learn from it, but it's a broad enough idea that enough people care, but it has a big enough outcome that like people actually want to do it, right? And then it has some little specific stuff as well, so that I'm going to get in a ton of people at the beginning, and then the people who are really qualified are going to see a second part, and they're going to watch that as well, right? I'm going to give you examples of like what packaging actually means or how you can present this. So packaging is the way that you deliver an idea. So if you have an idea, which is like you want to teach about calorie deficits, you could make a video that said how to properly do calorie deficits and lose weight, right? That video would be like, it would be very informational, would be super valuable, and it would be correct. But you could also package it, how to actually lose 50 pounds backed by science. Now, which one of those do you think is going to perform better? Because it's going to be the latter, right? Like the 50 pounds backed by science is going to outperform it 9 out of 10 times. And the video could be the exact same, but it's the way you're delivering it. It's going to change everything. Now, if I said, and this applies to everything, right? This applies to my videos too, but I'm just using this as an example. The reason that the deficit one wouldn't work is because there's no emotion behind it. It doesn't reach a large enough audience, and it doesn't even show a big outcome. But if you are able to package it in a way where it's 50 pounds, it's a huge outcome. It's a huge like emotion because it's like backed by science. They're like, oh, I'm getting something like this is really good. And it's like, it applies to a larger audience. Like that is what's going to allow it to actually outperform, even though the video could be the exact same. Okay. The exact same. Now, inside of the video, right, or the kind of what you want to do for the packaging is you don't want to talk about deep advanced topics to the public, right? Even though I cover sales, even though I cover setting, I cover all these intricate stuff, I don't talk about it in my short form, not even always in my long form, because people don't care. Even though setting is extremely important, because people don't think it's important, if I talk about it in my content, it's not going to get reach. So the way I would have to position it is like some other way, right? I saw a video where they positioned it and all they did was they talked about setting, but what they said, the title was, don't even think about running ads until you understand this, right? So it's like the way that you package it, the way they're delivering the idea, even though they're just talking about setting, which is a boring topic that nobody even cares about, like it's still going to get a lot of reach. So that's the way you want to think about it. Like in your content, like you want to position it in a way where your ideal audience is really going to love it, but it doesn't want to be you don't want to be too specific. In the video, you can talk about the specific stuff, right? In the video, it doesn't matter. As long as the packaging and in the hook at the very start, right? And this goes for long form and for short. As long as the beginning targets that wide audience, you can be more specific throughout, okay? And that doesn't matter. So the goal should be to attract more ideal followers by broadening your appeal as much as possible without actually losing the relevance, okay? And I ask myself every single time I make a video, like, how can I actually take this idea, right? Like the setup. I just did a video on my setup. I could have very well said, like, what would have been like correct is like setup tour. Like it could have literally just been like my setup tour, but I package it in a way where I'm getting it more ideal followers. I said my $1 million a year entrepreneur setup at 19, right? Now I'm giving the exact same stuff in the video, but it's how I'm delivering. It's the idea. And then the hook, I said, this is my 100K a month. Like this is my official 100K a month setup tour. This is everything that I use to actually scale to this point. Now, like if I removed that hook, the video would be the exact same. If I didn't have that title, the video would be the exact same. But since I positioned it that way, that's why everyone that commented, everyone that's viewing the videos, they're people who are entrepreneurs, right? They're people who make money online, because I packaged it in a way where it's broad enough that anyone who likes setups, anyone who makes money online, they're all going to watch it, but it's giving me authority, and I'm not giving it too specific where nobody's going to care, right? And that kind of brings us into our third one, which is you need to treat your business like a media company. And content should be your number one priority. You need to stop thinking like a coach and start treating it like the media and the videos is the business, because content is the backbone of your entire business. And if it is not your sole priority, then you're just giving yourself such a disadvantage, and you're just like walking on a crutch, because content will be all else. Like I said, content should be at the point where you don't need sales calls. Content should be at the point where you don't get objections. Content should be at the point where you can just throw someone a price and they're going to buy it. Not because of your offer, but because you're selling them on you. And you need to think about this in a way where it's like your business is just documenting your life. It's documenting your life through whatever you sell, right? You shouldn't be selling them on fitness coaching. You shouldn't be selling them on UGC coaching. I don't sell people on business coaching. I sell people on what I've done for my clients, and what I actually know about it. It doesn't feel like you're joining a coaching program. It feels like you're coming under my wing, right? And that's what it needs to feel like. Like you're vlogging your life, whether it's a vlog or not. It needs to feel like episodes. It needs to feel like someone should be able to binge every single video you do. And this is why I'm taking a step back from everything else. And sure, it might hurt the business in a month, 2 months, but what it's gonna do is get the content to the point where no one will be able to compete. Because even though content hasn't been my number one priority, we're already at this point. So if I make sure that it is, right? I'm getting to the point where I have a cameraman following me around, right? I have, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, a killer team of people who go above and beyond, like treating it truly like media is the number one thing. This is what every business is doing, right? Red Bull doesn't sell like energy drinks, right? They sell entertainment. And that's why everyone knows about Red Bull. They don't even post about it. They just do random stunts, right? Apple doesn't sell like good technology, right? They sell like the clean, minimalistic feeling. They sell innovation. But it's because that's what they present in their social media. They're not talking about the intricate like details of the phone. Red Bull isn't talking about whatever. Like they're selling the bigger image, and it's a media company at the end of the day, right? People don't buy into companies, they buy into people. They buy into ideas. So content drives everything. It drives leads, it drives trust, it drives sales. So you need to be selling yourself, not your offer. Because people choose you for you, not just your program. And you want to be focusing on what actually makes your audience or what your audience actually likes about you. Show more of yourself, not just teach. And this is why I'm moving, and why a ton of people are moving from teaching to just documenting. Right here, this is me documenting. This is just me documenting a group call, right? I didn't prop up the camera to make a YouTube video. This isn't scripted. I'm taking something that I'm already good at, and I'm just showing the world. And that's what's gonna get people to realize, wow, this kid is really good at what he's doing. I wanna learn from him, because he doesn't have to script his videos out. He doesn't have to do all these different things. He's propping up his camera, he's recording it, he's just in the flow state, and he knows this much. And if you're able to do that, you're able to show yourself, like for fitness in the gym, you're able to show yourself interacting with your clients. You're able to show all this and show that like you know so much about it that you can just like snap your fingers and give all the sauce. That's what's gonna get people to choose you, because it shows that it's not all this like highly prepared stuff. This like so much preparation that goes into it. Is like you're just simply so good at it, and you're just documenting what you already do, and now people are gonna want to be a part of that. So your goal should be to build a personal brand where people resonate with everything you post and make people want to work with you specifically. So this goes back to market research. Like I do so much market research to the point I know everything about my ideal audience. I know that I can post about the gym because they like that, right? I know that I can post about like fashion or personal development because like my ideal client likes that, or like wants to get better at that, or wants to know more. I know I can post about like sales. I can post about content. I can post about all these different things. I can post about traveling. And even though it's not about my offer, I can post about it, because if my audience resonates with it, my ideal follower resonates with it, that's one more reason they're going to choose me over any other coach. So you need to stop thinking like, you need to stop overcomplicating content. Yes, there's so much that goes into it, but if your ideal follower, your ideal client would resonate with that video, then that's what you're going to be posting. And you guys are going to be noticing, like I'm focusing all of my attention now on long form content, not short form. And almost all of the reels I'm going to be posting now are just going to be clips of the long form content, cut up of the long form, right? Because that's what's actually going to help me in the long run. If I'm focusing on long form content, I'm really selling people on me, and I'm showing not just like tips and tricks, not just value content, but I'm just showing me documenting my life. That's why I did the vlog. Even though I hate vlogs, I need to treat it as a media company. I need to put vlogs first, put that kind of content first, so that people can actually see me for me. Okay, so that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be taking long form content and then having it cut up into short form, but I'm going to be doing it in a way where while I'm making long form, like I'm at the point I understand so much about scripts. I understand so much about what makes people buy, that all I need to do is just get in the flow state, just talk about stuff, and I'll be getting clips for the short form, right? So that brings us into our last point, which is hiring a killer team. The only reason that I'm able to actually do this, the only reason I'm able to treat it like a media company, have someone following me around, make it so I can focus on long form content, have it clipped up into short form, isn't because I'm doing it myself. It's because I learned the foundation and then I hired a crazy team, right? I have an insane editor / creative director. I have a setter that is like insane at giving me insight on what I need to be posting to get more leads, what people are actually dealing with. And the only reason that I'm able to do this is because I was able to take what I'm good at, right? Which is like teaching, coaching, like doing the thing that I enjoy and what I'm really good at, and then getting good enough where I can give that job to people who are better, but still manage what they're doing. And the reason that having a team is so important is because it gives you new perspectives. It gives you new ideas. And if I'm able to have 3 different perspectives on what my video can look like and 3 different ideas of people who know the same, if not more than me, and I'm able to just control, I'm able to say like, this is what I want. It's like the director isn't the one editing the movie, right? They're saying this is kind of the idea I want, and then the editors go to work. So the content quality is going to improve immediately. As soon as you actually build out the foundation and you get a team that's able to support what you're already doing, right? This isn't possible. You can't do it yourself. Like, there's not enough time to record long form and to clip it into 5 short form pieces of content. You just don't have enough time to do that, especially if you don't have an editor, you don't have a setter, you don't have any of these other things. So the goal should be getting to the point where you can hand it off and not rushing it. A lot of people will rush handing it off, but getting to the point where you know how. And that comes where onboarding and actually choosing the right people is so incredibly important, right? And that's why one of the things that we're adding to the program, which you guys can ask me about this like after like one-on-one, but one of the things that we have in the program is hiring, onboarding, and training your team members and teaching you how to manage them as well. Because if you are trying to hire an editor, hire a setter, what happens 99% of the time is you get a random editor that just charges you and talks about, like, they never talk to you. Or you get a random setter that you have no idea what they're even doing in the setting process and they don't book any calls. So if you're able to properly source, properly hire, properly train these people, then they're going to be better at their job than you are. You're able to manage what they do because you can't do everything yourself effectively. You have way too much split focus if you're the one doing it all. If you control everything, your growth is extremely limited and your focus gets split, which is just going to make worse results, right? So everything goes back to the 80-20 rule. If you're able to focus on like team management, right? That 20 to 20% of things, that's going to give you 80% of the results. And if you're able to focus on your one thing, the one thing that you're really good at, that's also going to deliver 80% of the results. But this can only happen if you actually are able to delegate what you do so you can focus on the higher level thinking, right? You can focus on the things that are going to push you forward and you can focus on like what you are good at. So what I would tell all of you right now, right? For the actual hiring, it's ask yourself, like, are you at the point where you understand content enough that you can tell someone your vision and manage them to actually get that, right? Or do you understand setting enough? Do you understand these enough where you're confident that if someone else took it over, you could manage them and make sure they do it well so that you can focus on the bigger tasks? Because if you are, then properly hiring and onboarding a team is going to be one of the best things you can do. Because doing content, doing setting, doing all these things alone, it can take you to multiple 5 figures. But if you want to build something big, if you want to be making the 50 to 100, 200K, a team is what will actually allow you to do that. So these are the 4 changes that I actually made that like let me scale to $1 million a year with my business. It's the market research that you actually understand everything about your audience and how you can target them properly. It's knowing after you do that how to package your content to speak to them the best way possible. Then treating your content like the main priority. You need to be a media business over all else. And the only way to do that is by hiring a killer team that will handle the busy work, the boring work that you can't do. I'm at the point now where I just wake up to calls being booked. I wake up to videos being done, and they're done better and more calls booked than I could ever do myself, right? I could never book 8 calls in a day and edit 3 videos and on top of that, still teach clients and do like record content, everything like that. It's just not possible. There isn't enough hours in the day. And the reason that like some people are so far ahead is because they're not doing everything themselves, right? If we raced to sign this many clients, get this many results, and record and book this many calls, no one would be able to compete, right? It's not even a competition. It's like you're on your feet and I'm in a Ferrari, right? And that's why you need to actually get these down so that you get to the point where you're able to do this. And all of you are at the point right now, or most of you are at the point right now, where you have the basics understanding, you really understand it, and it's at the point you need to have a strong team behind you, or if you have a team, most likely you need a better one. Because if you had a dialed in team and you're managing them properly, you would already be at the multi-5-figure, 6-figure months right now. So those are the 4 things that I wanted to cover. I don't want to leave 30 minutes for a nice Q&A, but how did you guys like the call so far?
It was pretty good. I fucked with it. It kind of reminds me of Brad Scales a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think that man has like 3 YouTube channels or something like that. He has a channel for like where he actually teaches, and there's another channel for like where he shows his lifestyle and everything like that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm really gonna start focusing on is like showing and not telling, right? Like just showing that I know like everything that I'm talking about, right? That I live like, because I never show my lifestyle, right? Like I never flex anything. The most I ever do is like, I'll just use it for B-roll to like show that I actually know what I'm talking about. But I never record. I hate recording vlogs. I hate that. But I know that if I want the business to be at a point it needs to be at, like I need that to be a thing that I actually enjoy. So that's why I have a killer team, right? I have an insane editor / creative director, A+ setter, right? I'm gonna be soon getting like a cameraman that just follows me around, right? Like that's kind of what you need to be at if you actually want to scale. And like all of you, like there's no reason that someone shouldn't have an editor. And when you get to the point where your content is actually bringing in people, then there's no reason that you shouldn't have a setter, right? As soon as you understand how to do it yourself and you understand how to properly onboard and manage, like you're golden. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want me to run through anything else?
Well, I wanted to ask, in terms of the top of funnel content, what is your ideation process, and how do you utilize AI? Because I'm sure you know a lot of times we just use AI, like give me 20 ideas, and then those ideas are probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what's your own ideation process for?
Yeah, so I don't use AI for any ideation whatsoever. And the reason that I don't use it at all is because AI can only create what's already been made. So the only way that you want to use AI for like ideation is for it to analyze. So what I will do, I will tell it, I'll basically send it the transcripts and I'll tell it, I'll send it calls, I'll send it all these different things. And I will say like, what are all the questions that my clients are asking? Or these were all the videos that performed. What is common about all of these? What are the similarities? So that's the one way that I'll use AI, right? The second way that I'll use AI is to help me actually like gather my thoughts. So what I will do is I'll literally sit with my phone, like I'll just voice record in ChatGPT for like hours. Like I'll just sit, like when I'm driving the car, I'll sit like the entire drive here. All I was doing, I just had ChatGPT open and I was just recording whatever my thoughts were. And then after that, after I recorded all my thoughts, I was just thinking about like different shifts in content, different like stuff like that. Then what I did is I basically just said, summarize everything I said and give me all the bullet points. Because now I'm like, okay, these are the things that are actually on top of my head when I'm like in flow state. Now I can make content on that. So that's one of the things that like I do use AI for. And then for the actual like ideation process, like the one thing is like you can't just come up with the ideas like on a whim. So what I do is I consume so much content. I get video ideas from YouTube. I get video idea from watching YouTube, from watching movies, from watching all these different things. And if I actually resonate with it, if I think that's sick, then I can use a movie and say, okay, I want my content to look like this. Now I can take a random reel and I say, okay, I like the emotion this conveyed. Now, how did it actually give that emotion? But the only way, like the best way to do it is like consume so much content that you know everything you like about it, because in reality, like majority of the time, your audience is just 3 to 6 months behind you, right? So then you can just post kind of like not what you like or what you want, but just like one level below where you're at, and about anything that you want, right? Like I said, I could post about fashion, I could post about personal development, I could post about the gym, I could post about any of these things, as long as I'm kind of tying it back to business, and it's still a top of funnel piece that I can rip. That's why like I showed my setup tour, right? And I got people from that. That's why I did the video where it's like, you need a life outside of business. And I showed that. I showed like what I was doing outside of business, me with my girlfriend, me like at the gym, me doing all these different things. And that's a top of funnel piece that I can rip. Middle of funnel, I'd say is like way easier to come up with. You know what I mean? It's just like a pain point or something like that. Like, those are easy to come up with, right? The hard part about that is how you package it well. But with top of funnel, it really is just a lot about consuming other people's content. So I set aside probably like 2 hours a day to just scroll through YouTube, scroll through like short form content. And all I do is I'll just like save all the videos that I like. And then what I'll do, I'll send them to my editor, and it'll be like, these are the videos these are the videos that I resonate with. These are the videos I like. And I'll explain why. I'll be like, I like this because like the visuals of it, the music, all this. I like this one because of like the actual editing style. And like my editor is also my creative director. So he helps me with ideation, everything like that. So what he will do, and this is why you need an important team, he will scout out all these different videos. He literally stayed up for like 5 hours the other day and scouted out like 20 different videos that were all insane outliers from other people and sent them to me. And he's like, which ones do you like? And I was like, I like 2 of those. And then he's like, okay, why? And I told him why. And now he's able to train himself to know what I like and to know what my ideal audience likes. And that's one of the best ways. Like, it goes to the point too with my editor where I had like multiple pages of information that I filled out about everything I like, my entire like audience, what my ideal audience likes, everything about my offer. So then he can see that. And then I also give him competitors to study. So not only is it me coming up with ideas, my setter comes up with ideas even. Like, so it's like, that's why there's so many different ways, but the biggest thing is consuming content. That's how you come up with top of funnel content ideas. You guys have any other questions? Anything else you want me to cover? Or yeah, just gonna take this stuff and run with it? I'll send you all the call recording, and I'll put the Notion in, I'll just put the Notion like attached to it as well. But I don't really got anything else that I need to cover. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this call a ton. I know I did. This was fun to put together. And if you have any questions on anything that we covered, just shoot me a message and we can go more in depth about it as well. Or if any of you are at the point where you feel like you want to not hand off, but get the editors, get the setters, really get your team going and get them like managed up and stuff, also send me a one-on-one. And I'll also be posting more details about that in the next few days or next like week or so you know like all of it and you don't have to as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this call, and I'll talk to you later.